This is the haunting and deeply unsettling story of June and Jennifer Gibbons, two enigmatic twins whose lives defied explanation. From a young age, the twins chose a life of silence and isolation, refusing to speak to anyone except each other. They lived as though bound by an invisible thread, an intense and almost unbreakable connection that separated them from the rest of the world. In their shared silence, they built a private universe, one that only they could understand. Society, family, and even their peers were outsiders to this world, left baffled by the twins' mysterious behavior. Yet, what seemed like a safe haven, a sanctuary from the harshness of the outside world, came with a price that would ultimately prove unbearable. Their bond, as profound as it was isolating, cast a shadow over their lives, eventually demanding the ultimate sacrifice. One sister would have to die to set the other free. What follows is not just a recounting of events, but a journey into the mind of the surviving sister, June, who now carries the weight of their shared history. Through her reflections, the story unfolds, a tale of love, obsession, and the links to which two souls can go to remain inseparable. June and Jennifer Gibbons, better known as the Silent Twins, represent one of the most extraordinary and tragic cases in the study of twin psychology.
My name is June Alison Gibbons, and I have a twin sister called Jennifer, and we're known as Silent Twins.
Born on April 11, 1963, in the sunlit islands of Barbados, the twins' early years were marked by an innocence that belied the dark turn their lives would later take. Their parents, Gloria and Aubrey Gibbons, were hardworking and optimistic, seeking a brighter future for their children. Aubrey's position as a technician in the Royal Air Force brought the family to Haverfordwest, Wales, when the twins were still young. However, the move to Wales proved far from the fresh start they had hoped for. As the only black children in a predominantly white and insular community, June and Jennifer became immediate targets for prejudice and bullying. Their classmates and neighbors saw them as outsiders, subjecting them to relentless taunts and alienation. The twins, already shy by nature, began to retreat further into themselves. They stopped speaking to others entirely, finding solace only in their connection with one another. The silence they shared wasn't merely a reaction to the cruelty around them. It became their armor, a deliberate act of defiance against a world that refused to accept them. Over time, their silence evolved into something much deeper. They developed a unique language, a rapid-fire, almost musical way of speaking that only they could understand. This secret code was more than just a means of communication. It was a symbol of their unity, a barrier that kept the outside world at bay. Their parents, though loving and supportive, were powerless to break through this wall of silence. Teachers, therapists, and even extended family members tried to reach them, but nothing seemed to work. The twins remained steadfast in their isolation, their bond growing ever more intense.
We had our language. Me and my sister spoke. We knew what we were saying. My mother had to guess what we were saying, and she was one that was a bit worried about us.
And they were always shy, and they're not speaking. Well, they spoke, but we couldn't understand what they were saying. Yeah. But that's the trouble. And then when they knew that we couldn't understand, they went back in the shell,
They mirrored each other's movements, thoughts, and even emotions. If one laughed, the other laughed. If one cried, the other did too. It was as if they were two halves of the same person, living in perfect synchrony, but trapped in an endless cycle of dependency. Amid their deep isolation and alienation, June and Jennifer Gibbons found a creative outlet that allowed them to express their thoughts and emotions: writing. Their fascination with storytelling became a significant part of their lives during their teenage years, offering a window into their complex inner world. Through notebooks, diaries, and eventually published works, they gave voice to the feelings and ideas they could not share with anyone else. Writing became a means of escape, self-expression, and connection in a reality where they often felt invisible. The twins' stories were far from ordinary. Their works delved into dark, surreal themes that reflected their struggles with identity, alienation, and the suffocating bond they shared. Among their most notable creative endeavors were their novels, which offered glimpses into their turbulent emotional lives. June, in particular, wrote a book titled The Pepsi Cola Addict, a bizarre yet captivating tale that mirrored their feelings of societal rejection and the consequences of isolation. The novel follows a young boy named Preston Wilde who is expelled from school and becomes romantically involved with a teacher. Preston's life spirals further into chaos after being sent to a reformatory school. The book's tone and themes echoed the twins' own experiences, blending raw emotion with an eerie sense of detachment. The Pepsi-Cola Addict was self-published in 1981 with the help of their parents, as mainstream publishers showed little interest in their unconventional work. The twins had high hopes for the novel, dreaming that it would bring them recognition and a sense of validation from the outside world. However, the book did not garner widespread attention during its time, leaving their creative ambitions unfulfilled. In addition to their novel, the twins wrote numerous short stories and plays, often set in imaginary worlds where their characters grappled with love, conflict, and societal rejection. Their stories featured vivid imagery and an unsettling combination of beauty and darkness.
Write books. There's something to be proud of, isn't it? We can't speak, can't contribute in a normal way, we do it in a different way. Write books and be bestsellers and let our family feel proud of us. Now the twins have written books, they're famous, and it's so nice. We wondered what would happen to us if we didn't speak. Because when we were 16, we were in our bedroom. And we weren't mixing like other teenagers, going out, nightclubbing and going to discos. So we wondered whether we would end up staying in our bedroom right through our 20s, writing books, or whether we would go out, make friends, and get married and have kids. It wasn't to be, was it?
These works were deeply personal, serving as both a reflection of their struggles and an exploration of their wild imaginations. Through writing, they sought not only to create, but also to process their emotions and experiences in ways they could not otherwise articulate. Their journals, which they wrote prolifically, provide further insight into the tension. These diaries revealed their love-hate dynamic, with entries expressing both deep affection and bitter resentment for one another. Jennifer's writings, for example, portrayed June as a rival, while June's entries described Jennifer as controlling and overpowering. The act of writing became a double-edged sword, offering a therapeutic outlet for their pain, while also amplifying the emotional struggles between them. Although their literary efforts did not achieve the recognition they had hoped for during their lifetimes, the twins' writing has since gained attention for its unique perspective and haunting exploration of themes like isolation, dependence, and rebellion. After their conviction for arson and vandalism in 1981, June and Jennifer Gibbons were not sent to a conventional prison. Instead, they faced an even more harrowing fate: confinement at Broadmoor Hospital, one of the United Kingdom's most infamous high-security psychiatric institutions. Known for housing individuals deemed too dangerous for traditional incarceration, Broadmoor was a place shrouded in a dark reputation. Its sterile, heavily monitored environment was designed to manage and rehabilitate the most severe cases of mental illness, often through controversial and aggressive treatment methods. For the Gibbons twins, who were already struggling with isolation and psychological turmoil, their placement in Broadmoor would become a grueling chapter in their lives, one marked by suffering, desperation, and an almost complete loss of autonomy. The twins' nearly 12-year stay at Broadmoor was characterized by strict routines, limited personal freedoms, and the implementation of heavy-handed psychiatric treatment. Upon arrival, they were immediately prescribed antipsychotic medications intended to manage their perceived mental health issues. These drugs, while standard for many Broadmoor patients, had profound and detrimental effects on the twins. Jennifer, in particular, suffered from severe side effects, including blurred vision, lethargy, and muscle stiffness. For two young women whose lives had been defined by their unique, insular world, the physical and mental toll of the medication was a cruel irony. The drugs intended to stabilize them only served to deepen their detachment from reality and further weakened their already fragile sense of self. Broadmoor's institutional environment was starkly different from anything the twins had experienced before. Sex therapeutic behavior therapy, CTBA, accustomed to living in their own isolated bubble, where they could communicate freely in their secret language and maintain their synchronized behaviors, they found the hospital's regimented and restrictive setting oppressive. The staff's attempts to separate and monitor them added another layer of torment. The twins were often placed in different wards or denied opportunities to see each other regularly, a strategy intended to break their codependent relationship. Instead of fostering individual growth, this separation magnified their feelings of abandonment and despair, further destabilizing their mental health. June would later describe their time at Broadmoor as 12 years of hell, a phrase that captures the depth of their suffering. Their enforced isolation from the outside world and the lack of meaningful human connections compounded the psychological scars they carried from their earlier lives. It was as though their very existence depended on one another's presence. Nurses and doctors observed that if they were kept apart for extended periods, they would become withdrawn, refuse to eat, or exhibit self-harming behaviors. Their health would decline drastically, and they would retreat into near catatonic states. However, when reunited, in rare moments of clarity or desperation, June and Jennifer attempted to demonstrate that they were improving. They claimed they had begun speaking more openly and cooperating with doctors, hoping these signs of progress would lead to an early release. However, their efforts were met with skepticism and dismissal, leaving them feeling trapped and powerless. The institutional bureaucracy and the twins' own inability to communicate effectively with others created a vicious cycle that reinforced their confinement. Their despair became increasingly apparent in the letters they sent home to their family. These letters revealed the depth of their longing for freedom and the profound hopelessness they felt. In one particularly desperate act, the twins wrote directly to the Queen, pleading for a royal pardon. This act, both poignant and symbolic, highlighted their increasing desperation and their belief that traditional avenues of help were closed to them. The Queen's office responded with polite but non-committal correspondence, leaving the twins to face their plight without any real hope of intervention.
Rosemary, our sister, up until she was about 11. Then we stopped talking to her as well, and she moved out of the bedroom and moved into her other room, into her own bedroom. So we stopped talking to her, we stopped talking to our sister and brother and our parents.
So you must have been quite upset when they stopped talking.
Was it? Yeah, really upset.
Eat, food, drink, or do anything like that, that's normal. Normal everything that people do, take for granted, we couldn't do it. We were too sensitive.
Wherever possible, the twins will queue and sit together for the meal, and will often eat in unison.
The prolonged confinement of June and Jennifer Gibbons at Broadmoor Hospital inflicted profound and lasting scars, leaving an indelible mark on their physical, emotional, and psychological well-being. Broadmoor, known for its strict security and institutionalized routines, was designed to house the most severe psychiatric cases, often focusing on containment rather than rehabilitation. For the twins, whose psychological struggles were deeply intertwined with their unique and codependent bond, the environment proved to be particularly devastating. What was intended to be a therapeutic setting instead became a prolonged ordeal that stripped away any semblance of normalcy they might have clung to, isolating them further from a world they already struggled to connect with. The rigid institutional environment did little to address the complexities of their condition, focusing instead on enforcing rules and administering medication. The heavy doses of antipsychotic drugs prescribed to the twins had debilitating side effects, such as lethargy, physical discomfort, and mental fog, which further deteriorated their health. Jennifer, in particular, suffered severe reactions, including blurred vision and other distressing symptoms that underscored the harmful impact of their treatment. The sisters were kept apart for extended periods during their confinement, a decision that, while intended to reduce their dependence on one another, only deepened their despair. Deprived of their primary source of comfort and understanding, their twins, each of them struggled to adapt to the cold, impersonal world of Broadmoor. The emotional toll of their confinement was evident in the twins' behavior and writings. They often described their time at Broadmoor in stark, harrowing terms, with June later reflecting on it as 12 years of hell. Letters to their family revealed their increasing hopelessness and feelings of abandonment as their pleas for understanding and release went unheard. They even took the extraordinary step of writing to the Queen, appealing for intervention and pardon, a desperate act that underscored their deep sense of isolation and despair. Despite occasional moments of compliance, such as their attempts to convince doctors they were ready for release by speaking more openly, the twins' inherent mistrust of the system and the trauma they endured made genuine progress nearly impossible. In the early 1980s, journalist Marjorie Wallace became deeply involved with the story of June and Jennifer Gibbons, intrigued by their extraordinary bond and the eerie circumstances surrounding their lives. Her extensive research and interviews with the twins eventually culminated in her book, The Silent Twins, which offered a rare glimpse into their enigmatic world. Wallace's visits provided a unique outlet for the twins as they began to open up to her in ways they had rarely done with others. Over time, she became a confidant, uncovering layers of their relationship that were both fascinating and disturbing.
I felt that June would cope better with the separation because she was the more malleable, because she seemed to, of the two of them, have a few inner resources, whereas I felt that Jennifer had no inner resources whatsoever.
Okay, why me? My whole life is why me. Why me to be the one that has to do this and that first? So I say, I'm not leaving the home to get a carving first. Why me first? Why going to take Jennifer first?
Having laid on the bed, she would sit crying in a sort of catatonic state with liquid from her nose and her eyes and her mouth hanging in a great beard down to here, with the unit staff mopping her face, not speaking, not going to the toilet. I mean, obviously, we had to say, enough's enough. People said the twins' behaviour is a game. It was very obvious that nobody was enjoying the game. Certainly the adults around them could see where it was going to lead them. And you could see from the film that the girls couldn't break out of it. It was the extreme distress that June displayed that led to the breakdown of the separation. We failed them, but I can't really, casting my mind back, think what else we could have done.
Coincided with Jennifer's untimely passing, of course, it's a year on, it's still, I say, it gets to you. I mean, you still feel, I won't say depression, but it's just the recurring images coming back to you. It sort of haunts you.
In March 1993, the twins were scheduled to be transferred to a lower second facility in Wales. During the transfer, Jennifer reportedly told June, "I'm going to die," and shortly after arriving at the new hospital, she did. Jennifer passed away from acute myocarditis, a rare inflammation of the heart, which baffled doctors as she had no prior health conditions to explain it. Her sudden death was both shocking and eerily consistent with the pact she had made with her sister. Following Jennifer's death, a remarkable transformation occurred in June. She began to speak openly and behaved as though a heavy burden had been lifted. She described feeling free for the first time and was soon discharged from the hospital. Returning to society as an individual, June moved close to her family and began leading a relatively quiet life. She later expressed mixed feelings about her past, explaining in interviews that she both loved and resented Jennifer, but ultimately felt that Jennifer's death had granted her a new lease on life. The story of June and Jennifer Gibbons continues to fascinate and intrigue audiences around the world, a tale that delves deep into the mysteries of human psychology, identity, and connection. Their lives have inspired countless works, including documentaries, books, and the critically acclaimed 2022 film adaptation, The Silent Twins. Directed by Agnieszka Smoczynska, the film features stunning performances by Letitia Wright and Tamara Lawrence, who bring the complex dynamics of the twins' relationship to life on screen. Marjorie Wallace's 1986 book remains one of the most comprehensive and poignant accounts of the twins' extraordinary lives. Through her work, Wallace provided unparalleled insights into their struggles, the intense and often turbulent bond they shared, and the life-altering impact of their isolation and institutionalization. She shed light on their unique psychological worlds, which were shaped by societal rejection, shared trauma, and an unbreakable connection that defined every aspect of their existence. Their legacy is a haunting and tragic tale that raises profound questions about individuality, sacrifice, and the human need for understanding and acceptance. June and Jennifer's story serves as a powerful reminder of how deeply intertwined identity and relationships can become, and the devastating consequences when that balance is disrupted. It also underscores the critical importance of compassion and empathy in addressing the complexities of mental health, the cost of societal misunderstanding, and the indomitable will to be seen and understood, even in the most extraordinary of circumstances.